NewsX, and a day after Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, was royally snubbed by U.S. President Donald Trump at the summit. Top American documents indicate Pakistan-based terrorist groups not only plan and conduct attacks in India, but also pose a serious threat in the region. Our senior editor, Gauri Dwivedi, joins us with more details. Let's go across to her right away. She's joining us from the newsroom. Gauri, what details do we have on this? And let's just walk our viewers through the details and the contents of those documents.
I thought these are very, very serious and top documents that we have access to, and it clearly talks about how Pakistani-based terror groups, in fact, present a sustained threat to U.S. interests in the region and continue to plan and conduct attacks in India and Afghanistan. These are, of course, documents by the Director of National Intelligence. It also goes on to say that the threat to the U.S. and the West from Pakistani-based terror groups is persistent. Not only, it doesn't end there. In fact, it also goes on to say that as far as nuclear weapons and getting hold of nuclear weapons is concerned by terrorists, non-state actors, that possibility is extremely pronounced in the case of Pakistan. So that just really talks about how risky it is really as far as a nuclear-armed Pakistan is concerned. This is really part of a world threat assessment that has been done by the U.S. intelligence agency. It also goes on to talk about the fact that there is in fact heightened Indo-Pak tensions right now, and a lot of that is to do with the fact that there have been 2 terror attacks courtesy militants actually crossing the line of control and, of course, crossing into India from Pakistan. In fact, a second set of documents also talk about the fact that the tensions between India and Pakistan will only ease once there is progress on the Pathankot investigation. So really talking about India's case as of now globally. And the other set of documents, again, top secret, top U.S. documents, which goes on to say that Pakistan's nuclear stockpile continues to grow. Again, a global threat right now as far as Pakistan is concerned, and also says that U.S. is concerned that this growth, in fact, has heightened security issues. The other very important bit, Athar, that needs to be pointed out is that it says that as of now, India is trying to diplomatically isolate Pakistan after these attacks, and also says that India is considering punitive options to ensure that there is the cost to Islamabad actually goes up as far as supporting cross-border terrorism is concerned.
Clearly reiterating, Gauri, what we've known for a while, and the U.S. documents clearly putting a stamp of approval on that, suggesting that India is not only considering punitive action, but also is trying to isolate Pakistan diplomatically, something India's been saying and doing at the same time simultaneously. It doesn't really help either, Gauri, that just a day ago, when U.S. President Donald Trump visited Saudi Arabia, he did snub Pakistani president. Could that perhaps give us an indication of maybe a slight shift of U.S. policy on Pakistan? We do know that they will not, at any cost, get through their arms deals with them. U.S. is still going to conduct business with Pakistan. They're going to engage them. But can we see perhaps a slight shift, at least in the way the U.S. sees Pakistan and the terror groups based within Pakistan with some suspicion?
Cannot really miss the timing of these documents. Of course, it really comes after the snubbing of Nawaz Sharif that really happened by Donald Trump. But yes, as you rightly pointed out, there is a very strategic decision that Washington needs to take. It needs Pakistan at the same time because, of course, in its war on terror. But at the same time, there is some sort of a growing realization in the Trump administration that New Delhi's interest as far as terror needs to be recognized. And let me just point out one very important detail in these documents, which also says that the emerging China-Pakistan economic corridor will probably offer militants and terrorists additional targets. In fact, that is exactly what it says right here, that the emerging China-Pakistan economic corridor will give more room as far as militants and terrorists additional targets. And also the big point really continues to be that nuclear weapons can be in the hands of non-state actors, and that is going to be an extremely serious challenge as far as Washington is concerned, which is why, of course, the security threat is that much amplified for Washington as well.
A so-called dirty bomb in the hands of terrorists, that, of course, is the U.S.'s worst nightmare, any democratic country's worst nightmare. Stay with us, Gauri, if you can. We'll also go across to Colonel Danveer Singh joining us. He's a defense analyst on the phone line. Colonel Danveer Singh, the U.S. documents that NewsX has accessed right now only reiterate what India has known for a while, but it also gives perhaps hope that the U.S. will be looking at terror based outfits inside Pakistan, that operate inside Pakistan, within the Pakistani soil, and target India with some degree of suspicion and perhaps some degree of control?
See, all the while, Americans had a issue that was the geostrategic relevance of Pakistan that made the U.S. look the other side, while India has been harping on this issue for a very long time, that we have been subjected to cruelty through terrorism by Pakistan. But U.S. had this problem because all the supplies to Afghanistan had to go from Karachi. But now that issue is not there. Americans also realize that Haqqani group, Haqqani network is an issue which Pakistan is not trying to resolve. Pakistan is still supporting Haqqani group. As a result, the stability in Afghanistan is getting affected. So both the things combined, that Americans are not relying on Karachi anymore, and that Afghanistan's stability is not guaranteed till the time Pakistan guarantees it. And when they analyze the whole thing, they realize that it is the India-centric phobia that Pakistan is suffering.
But Colonel Danvi Singh, are you suggesting that these documents show perhaps that the Americans have finally realized that Pakistan is not that much of an ally in their so-called war against terror, and they perhaps are looking at others? Is that as far as you want to go at this point?
Absolutely. In this case, in this particular case, now they are recalibrating themselves, because now China is coming up in a big way through China Economic Corridor. The equations, the power equations in this great game are changing. India is seeking relevance in Afghanistan. In fact, Afghanistan and India are joining hands. Pakistan is quite wary of these issues. It is paranoid. So it is supporting the terrorists that are getting into Afghanistan, and of course getting into J&K, fueling unrest into J&K to destabilize and weaken the morale of the Indians. So all this thing is happening. It's a big cauldron that is being affected. So yes, what we are saying is right, that finally the Americans, whatever be the compulsion, they are realizing that yes, what India has been saying is right, and India is the great sufferer.
There is a school of thought, Colonel Danvi Singh, which suggests here in India as well that believing the Americans and these documents is fraught with problems, because the Pakistanis and the Americans still continue to do business. There's a huge $52 billion aid package that Pakistan is still receiving from America. Does that suggest that America is perhaps recalcitrating? I don't think so.
See, that is not the issue. In fact, they have denied some $190 billion or $1 billion. I think they have denied Pakistan in aid very recently. So they are realizing that Pakistan has to be stifled for its various activities. Otherwise, the whole region is quite at stake. The peace in the whole region is quite at stake. So I don't think so Americans are going to let them off the hook so easily. The pressure is going to be...
So you're saying it's happening slowly and gradually, but it is happening. All right. My colleague Gauri Dwivedi is also with us. Colonel Danvi Singh, she might want to come in. Gauri, go ahead.
Colonel Danvi, the question that I wanted to ask you was that, one also needs to take into light that some part of the grant that US is giving to Pakistan is now being converted to loan. Of course, when that happens, when that repayment happens, what are the terms of those repayment, how easy are those, is a separate issue altogether. But the fact that some part of this grant is actually being converted to loan, again, is part of a larger recognition maybe by Trump administration, by Washington, that there needs to be something that needs to be done as far as Pakistan's support to cross-border terrorism is concerned?
You will agree with me that all of a sudden you cannot pull the rug and you cannot destabilize the whole apple cart for which you have been supporting all the while. So they are applying the pressure appropriately, probably with the hope that Pakistanis understand and mend their ways. If not, then slowly and gradually the pressure will be increased. The good part is that, yes, the manifestation of the idea that India has been perpetuating all over the world, that Pakistan, not the idea, the fact that Pakistan is behind all the terror activities around in this region, is now finally seeping into the Americans' head also, because they are also facing the reality. They can't get into Afghanistan back and just wash away billions and billions of dollars in security of Afghanistan. That security of Afghanistan has to be guaranteed by Pakistan. And Pakistan, unfortunately for Americans and the West, is involved in terror, which is also affecting their main soil, their hinterlands as well. So Pakistan.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for speaking to us. We will move on now. Thank you, Gauri, for getting us those documents.